Hair, the final frontier. Every character artist's scariest nightmare. So scary, in fact, many result in making their awesome 3D characters they've spent months on bald or conveniently hatted with a hat so big and hatty it sucks out any strand of visible hair. I understand the worry. I did this too for a time. You know, there's hundreds and thousands of tutorials teaching real-time character art. You're one search away from every tutorial you'll ever need, teaching modeling, baking, texturing, rigging, how to make clothes for your character, how to sculpt your character's face, hands, how to model their cool epic sword they're gonna wear. There's enough tutorials, both free and paid for, that'll teach you. But hair, at least within the circle of free content, it's a bit meh, or at least not as good as it could be. There definitely is very good tutorials out there, believe me. Ones I'll happily supply in the description below. In this video, I'm going to take my industry knowledge and years of experience to teach you all the steps of making hair from start to finish. So no need for painstakingly hunting through all these different videos for the next step along the way. This series is concise and to the point. So let's get started. I'm going to show you how to make hair textures, making hair cards, showing how to place them, how to structure your hair correctly, then finishing this off in the engine of your choice. So, no bullshit, just an easy to follow series of videos that won't waste your time. So now that's settled, let's take that fucking hat off your character and let's get to work. Hi. So, the start of the video, that's pretty exciting. But before we start literally anything, I want to talk about reference. I think reference is really, really important because what's great about it is it gives you a chance to actually work out what kind of hair you want to make. And also, it will just aid you throughout the whole process of when you're making the hair. But on specifically the hair textures, what's good about having reference is actually understanding what kind of hair you're making. So if you're making super old, grey, curly, fuzzy hair, that's something you can reflect actually in the texture itself. Or if you're doing like super straight hair, that's something you want to reflect in the textures as well. If you're making super curly hair, for example, that's something, again, you can reflect in the textures. If you didn't do that and you had super straight hair textures that you're trying to use for curly hair, it's going to be a lot harder to work with that texture when getting to the actual placing of the cards phase, right? So yeah, keep that in mind. Let's actually talk about how we're going to put together our actual textures. I'm going to be using just a 2K texture. I think you don't really need to go that high. Like I mean, you can go 4K, and sure, you can. I don't know. I see people do these things where they're so wrong, where they have like a full, square used up for only 3 hair strands. One that's like a big thicky old fucking hair strand. Then a middle one that's slightly less thick. Then the last one that's just a fuzz of just wiry mess, right? And that's all they need, right? You just don't need to do that. Like, you can just have it be like, you can have like 16, 20, you can have so many fucking hair strands, unique hair strands on a 2K texture, and it still looks really clean and really nice, and if you are feeling like it's really getting too much, just shorten the amount of hairs that you want to have on your page. So either way, I'm going to go through my layering system. I'm going to be using a 2K. We're going to go with layer 1. Layer 1 will be the really thicky boys, the really, really thicky boys. And I keep them around like the top left. Those will be the first ones on the... Sorry, I wasn't in... My camera was blurry. You want to have those be the layer 1 big thicky. I keep fucking blur. Layer 1 is the thicky boys. So, keeping that in mind, you want them to have no gaps in them. You don't want any, opacity to fall through the middle of it. It's just a thick block. And I'd say maybe you could have like two of these unique thicky boys. So layer 1. Layer 2, still thicky boys, but with some gaps in the middle. So maybe make, I'd say like 2 or 3 of those where they can be nice and unique. Some have like maybe 2 little kind of unique gaps between them. Some of them have kind of massive gaps that kind of go right in between the strand, make them unique. And then what I'd say for layer 3 is some more thinner, more spaced out hair. Still slightly thicker, but I'd say just enough where you can see through most of the strands now. Semi-thick. Then layer 4 will be the super thin, super wiry hair, very spaced out. You can see pretty much completely through it, but it's those nice little strands that look very wiry, and there's no thickness to it, you know? And the epic layer, the layer 5, will be the small flyaways and unique little bits you want to add. Maybe you want to make a very specific curl or flick, you know, strand that you want to make that you can just fit in right at the bottom right of the actual UV, that you can use in very unique situations. And that's all you need. That is how you make textures, or at least that's how you plan out the textures you want to make. Oh, stop going out of frame, man. Fuck! What I'd say is, if you want to actually, you know, prepare these textures correctly, go into something like Photoshop or whatever editing fucking painting software you use that isn't Photoshop, and just, you know, draw them out. Put together a 2048 by 2048 by 2048 texture in Photoshop, and just draw them out, and then you can use that as kind of a template. You can use that as a template for when you're putting together your actual hair strands. So it's really sick. But yeah, that's pretty much how you put together planning your hair textures. So, making hair textures, hey? I've seen a lot of videos of people explaining how they make their hair textures using crazy snazzy ways of doing it and cool softwares and all these insane techniques. I realize that a lot of you guys probably don't have access to the most insane industry standard software and hardware and stuff like that. So rather than just showing, you know, the best way of doing it, I'm going to show you 3 ways of doing it with varying budgets, that I think everyone can enjoy. So there's 3 ways that I'm going to show you how to do it. First way is going to be using Maya and using Xgen, right? Which I believe is the industry standard way of doing it. The problem is Maya's like a few £1,000s to buy, and I mean, if you're a student, it's free. So if you're a student, get on it. Then there is something called Fibershop, which is the kind of middle ground. It's the middle ground budget, pretty much. And it's a whole complete package of creating hair textures. And, you know, there's a lot of softwares like it, but I'd say it's probably the best one I've seen, where it's very easy to use. So I'll use that as reference. But there's other softwares that do the same kind of thing, probably worse. Then there is the really cheap way of doing it, which I'm assuming is a good few of you, which is understandable. And a fun little story, actually. Oh, I'll try and tell it really quickly, not to waste your time. My first art test for my dream job I wanted at the time, they wanted me to do some hair, and I didn't have access to Maya or a good computer because I was back home for Christmas with family. So in the end, rather than, you know, spending money on Maya or anything worse, in the end, I just opened Photoshop and I just did the textures manually. And, you know, I did a good enough job to get the job. So, you know, it works. So for anyone that's, you know, worried that doing it, you know, picking the third option, even though it seems like the cheap way of doing it, it still works. Like, it still fucking works. So, you know, I hope you guys find it interesting. Hey, it's me, Danduw 3D, and we're gonna make some hair textures using Maya and Xgen. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make our template that we're gonna have in the background while we're making our Xgen hairs. So put down a polygon plane, scale it out, right click, scroll down to assign new material, Lambert, whatnot. Go to color, click a little checkerboard, file. What we're going to do is pretty much just get our template ready. I'd say keep it to a 2048 texture size, so then everything's all the same size. So here, you can see, you can't see anything yet because you've got to turn on the goddamn texture thing there. Yeah, cool. Go to rotate mode, and we need to rotate it 90 degrees, so it's now facing forward. Cool. Turn off the grid, you don't need the grid. what we now need to do is make a camera, and we can do that by going to create camera, and then we want to click on the box of the camera. What I need to do is scroll down and make sure orthographic is on. Usually it'll be off by default, but if you turn it on, that's what we need. So everything's nice and flat. We want to move that back a bit. So we'll scale this out. Don't worry too much about the scale of anything yet. You don't have to worry about the scale of the camera or the template yet. We'll fix that when we get to the Arnold rendering bit. The one thing I will say, don't move it left or right or up or down. Just scale it. Just keep it, or you can keep it forward and back. That's fine. But don't do this, because then it makes it a lot harder to line everything up. So now we've done that, one last thing we want to do is go to Arnold, and we want to go to lights, and we want an area light. Scale that up and put it roughly just a bit before the camera. To see what the actual area light is doing, you can turn on this thing here, the little light bulb, and it'll show you what actual light it's going to be emitting. So what we want to do first of all, see how it's not really doing that much. What we want to do is turn up the exposure quite a bit and the intensity to 10. That's fine, yeah. What we want to do is go to Arnold, open Arnold render view, and if I gave that a little render, you'll see obviously it's rendering my perspective, which is not what we want. We want to go to perspective shape, drop down, go to camera shape. There we go. But, oh no, there's an issue. You can see that the ratio of the render is not the same as the 2048 template we've gone for. Oh my God, what are we going to do? You need to go over to this little bad boy on this lane. Click on that. Scroll all the way down and click on 2K square. And that will default to 2048, which is exactly what the template size is. Oh my God! So it all lines up like that. How awesome is that? One thing I will say that can happen is you might have this like smaller, like this size, and it won't fit with the actual 2048 size. All you have to do is just scale it until it's what you want. At the end of the day, it's just a template. It's just getting that rough size. There we go. That's fine, right? Cool. Again, you can see the light needs to be a bit more aggressive because right now it's looking still very grey. You can see here it's a bit more lighter. So easiest thing to do, just say it's like a 15? Yeah, sure. At the end of the day, it's not the end of the world. We can fix the lighting and all that later. For now, it's just good that we have that for if we want to see some kind of rough renders of how the hair's going. In the meantime, we can hide some stuff. So if we hide the light and then turn off the light bulb again, we'll be back to just normal view. Camera as well. Now that we have that sorted, we can move that all the way over there, so it's not in the way. So we want to make some hair Xgen strands. What we want to do is we want to get a nice orthographic front view, and a really easy way of doing that is holding down space, left click, go to front view. There we go. Now we're in a nice front view. What we want to start doing is actually, let's hide the camera so it's not in the way as well. So we want to start setting up a few things. So let's make a cube. Move it over here. Scale it so it's about that size. We want it lined up within the template itself. Let's go back over to the perspective. Move over here. And what we want to do is select everything but these two sides like that of the cube. Then what we want to do is click this edge here, and we want to go to modeling toolkit, bevel, and bevel that a few times so it looks like this. Okay, cool. Are we all following along? So what we want to do now, actually maybe one less, is we want to delete a few. We want to delete these ones at the top, and we want to delete these ones at the bottom. So now it's kind of like a curve like that, just the curved edge. Cool. What we want to do now is just kind of push it so it's just a bit above, in front of the template. You never want it actually intersecting with the template. Please don't do that. Have it just in front of it like that. We want it around there. That's fine. Nothing too crazy. And again, we can go back to orthographic view. Looks cool. Great. So, what we're going to do, let's scale it a bit so it's a bit more wider. Cool. What we're going to do is go to modeling, go to the Xgen interactive groom. Okay, now you're probably really scared because you've got a lot of things on screen, which is very scary, I understand. But it's really simple. Don't worry about any of this fucking stuff. Don't worry about it. focus on these brushes. And even these brushes, there's like 3 or 4 that you only really need to worry about. So, and also this whole UI of stuff, don't worry, it's okay. I'm holding your hand, it's fine. So, go over to Create. Oh, no, first, click on the actual curve that you've just made, right? Yeah? Go over to Create, Interactive Groom Splines, call it Hair, Apply. Ah, yes, beautiful. You'll now see that you've got a hairbrush, which is great. So what we can do, let's click space, let's go into orthographic view, and let's start doing some fun stuff. So let's go through a few of the brushes and see what we need to do. So this brush here is called the lengthen brush, which is really good. What you can pretty much do is lengthen out the hair until it's what you want it to be. So I'm going to do kind of just a uniform-esque. I might actually go back, make the brush bigger so I can do more of a uniform length. On top of that, to make the brush bigger, hold down B and left click, drag left and right, and it'll make the brush bigger. There you go. That's maybe roughly the size I want it to be. But one thing you will notice is if you go back to perspective, this is what the hair's doing right now, which is very not what we want it to do. Really easy fix is go back to orthographic view, and we're going to use something called the comb. And we're going to comb down the hair. See? How cool is that? Oh God. Okay. Yeah, that's one thing as well. Is by default, the hair splines will use a material that's really shiny, which is great when you're in the final render, but it will look bad. So, how do we fix this issue? What we can do is we can click on the hair. Let's go to Select Tool. Click on the hair in the outliner. Right-click, assign new material. Let's just set it to a Lambert. That's fine. And we're going to make the color of it something that's just aggressive enough for us to work with. Yeah, sure. Honestly, fuck it. That's fine. Now we've done that, what we need to start thinking about is the actual hair itself, because I see a few issues already. So by default, the splines are disgusting and really shit because you get these horrible jagged edges like this. Do you see this? Also at the end, you can see there, it's really jagged. It looks robotic, doesn't look like hair. So what we need to do is we need to go into the actual hair drop down, and we want to go over to where it says width line. Oh my god, I'm having width ramp. There we go. So what we need to do is click on the width ramp here, and we want to just bring this down around here, bring this up, and then bring this one down. So now you can already see the kind of edges, the ends of the hair are kind of going in like that, which is really nice. And if you want, you can go in and just maybe make the curve a bit nicer. Yeah, sure. Great. Smooth. God, I hate using this. I hate using splines and... Oh, God, it's so rubbish. Okay. Yeah, cool. Yeah, like what? Yeah, you can spend... Sure. Spend A just making it to what you want it to be, but like if it's just roughly like that, you're fine. I don't care. Fuck you. So now you've done that. Let's actually make that one just a bit more thinner. Like that. Like that. Bobby. So, cool. Now, there is one issue, unfortunately, with when you set up your splines for the first time. So one issue that can happen when you've just set up your splines is the actual density, the poly density of the splines can be really low. So you can see here, you can see a massive jagged edge to the spline, which doesn't really make sense with hair because it needs to be nice and smooth. So a really easy way to fix this is if you go over to the hair base here in the drop down. Even open up again, hair base. Go over to it. It says CV count. That's how many CVs are stored in the hair. So what you need to do is just turn up to 10. So it's at 5 by default. Set it to 10. Rebuild. You can see already it's a lot more smoother. For the sake of this, I'm going to go for 15. Sure. Again, that's another thing. If you're doing like really overly curly hair, you can see already. See, you can still see the cuts and the polygons. So we could go for 20. Yeah, see, it's a bit more better. Again, you might even need to go higher, a 30, but that hurts my brain. That's a bit too high. But there you go. You see what I mean? See how it's now a lot more smoother. So I'm going to say... Also, I'd say this. Save your fucking stuff. Please save your stuff. Because unfortunately, things crash a lot in Maya. Especially when you have Xgen. Also, we need to start adding some more hair around. Because we've added the main base. We want to add more. Because there should be more around the sides. So, if we go over to Density Tool, we can start adding stuff in. But, oh no! An issue arises. What is this? why are the splines small and stubbly, not like the other hair? Am I gonna have to like individually? I said, well, little child. If you go over to Tool Settings and you go to where it says interpolate, click on that, and then you start placing them down. They're gonna work and fit with the size and style of the other hair. Cool. Also, things are looking a bit thick, which is fine, but there's something I want to do. I want to go back over to the hair itself, attributes, and I just want to thin it a bit. An easy way to do that is there's actually a thinner here. Just the hair just a bit thinner. There you go. That's cool. But this now means we have to add a lot more hair. So if we just go... Wee! This is fun! But again, something's off. I'm not able to really... Also, what's good about doing this kind of like bright red, I think it just helps, especially when you don't want to have those little gaps with the tier 0 hairs. So it's all nice and thick. Also, here, we might want to just comb things in a bit so it's a bit more aesthetic. There you go. Nice. One thing I do want to do, though, is use a thing called the freeze tool. So, freeze brush, sorry. Freeze tool. No, it's called freeze brush. Why, when you click it, it say freeze brush activated, but then it's called freeze tool? If you drag over, just click over the hairs, what will happen now is if I start placing hair, like this, for example. Let's add like a bunch. I want to add like a lot of hair over here. This is still red. This is blue. If I use the comb brush, you will now see this is separate from the hair, meaning I can do whatever the fuck I want with it, which is really, really good. And we will be using this a lot when we get to more complexer pieces like this, where you can see you're going to have individual kind of curves that are separate from each other. But for this, it's not the end of the world. We just need to get this area a bit more bloated. Yeah? You following me so far? I hope this is all making sense. Alright, now that I'm nearly done with this, I'm actually quite happy with this being like the level 1 hair. I'm going to add just a few more bits and then I'll call that a day. Okay. Cool. You know what? It's not perfect, but it gets the point across. What we're going to do now is see how it looks in Arnold. So a really quick way of doing this is we're going to go over to the hair again, go back to select mode, right click, existing materials, and we're going to turn on the hair physical shader again. Cool. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn off a few things. So we're going to turn off the the plane that's holding the reference, and we're going to turn off this thing that's holding the hair. So now it's just the hair on its own. What we can do, go over to Arnold, turn on the light itself, because we need the light on, and if we do that, all right, so now you can see that when we put it through, you can actually see the hair is showing up. It's a bit dark, so what we're going to do is we're going to go over to this, the area light. We're just going to bring it forward a bit so you can see the hair a bit better. But you can see there's some nice depth to it. There's some darker ones at the back, some more nice ones at the front. Nothing crazy, but it does the job. It does the job. So now we've done that. All right, so now we've done that, let's actually get to work on the other hair bits. So what we're going to do, turn back on all this fun stuff. First close Arnold, and let's start putting these all together. So what we're going to need to do is copy these across, and we're going to make another one of these, and I'll make it really quickly because it's pretty much the exact same one as the other one, just slightly different. So again, remember, we go to create interactive groom. Done. Cool. And then we do the same thing again. One thing you'll need to do is turn off the edit mode. So you're no longer editing within this one and you're actually just messing with this one. So if you click on edit now, this one will be the one you'll be working on. Cool. Okay, so now you've done this, let's get to work on the tier 2s. This will be a lot more complex to get right. So what we're going to do is go over here and duplicate these a few times. This one can be a bit smaller since it's a smaller area. There we go. All right, so rather than make an interactive groom spline generator every time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a bunch of these platform things here, these all curves, and I'm just going to combine them together so I can make all the hair all as one. So I'm going to do it with just these three first. So what I'm going to do is mesh, combine. So now they're all together. What I'm now going to do then is go to create, interact groom, and do that, and see now they're all going to be on all three. What I'm going to go in and do is turn on edit, so it's making sure that the other ones are not affected when I use stuff like any of these ones, like comb. Again, I want to right click, turn it to the red texture we've been using. Alrighty, cool. So I can focus on the left one. I'm going to freeze all of these bad boys here pretty easily. So it's just this one I'm working with. There's a few hairs here that I don't really want, that don't really work with the kind of shape I want to make. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to density tool, but holding back down the control button, I can delete a bunch of the hairs that I don't want. There we go. So now it's just these. Then we can obviously use the lengthen and make that super long. Remember as well, it's doing this weird thing, which is great. So make sure to use your comb and comb things down. You'll notice that it can go really long sometimes. So what I'd say to do is use the lengthen again. Just holding down control, you can bring things back a bit. Yeah. Cool. Then again, we're going to use the lovely comb brush and just get the shape that we want. Sometimes the comb brush can be a bit annoying, so sometimes using just the move brush, grab brush can be good, because then rather than combing through each bit constantly with the grab, it just grabs it as if it's just geometry. This is what I use at the end just to make sure everything's perfectly lined up as much as I want it to be after I've combed it. Cool. Nice. I'm happy with that. I might add a few more hairs, so I'm just going to use the density brush a bit here so it's nice and thick. Cool. Happy with that? I am. So now that we've done that, I'm going to freeze that, and I'm going to start adding some more hairs over here. And since we have the interpolate on, what's going to happen is you're going to get the same length already straight away, which is really good from the other hair strand. So what we can do is go in, try and get that same shape as in the reference. It kind of curls around. Right, so here I'm having a bit of a problem with like kind of cinching it in at the end. So a really easy way to fix that is by using the clump tool. So clicking on this, I can just click around here and it will just kind of bring everything together. Then I can go back to using the move tool, for example, and just bring it in. Hopefully, if anything, this has shown you that making hair textures within Xgen is actually not that hard. It's pretty fun, actually. I quite enjoy it. So now you've done that, let's do another check of how the hair's looking. Let's go over to our open render again, and let's do a quick render just to see how things are looking. Oh, we need to turn the light on so we can actually see. The camera needs to be on as well. There we go. Yeah, look at that. Yes! Hair! How cool! You actually have some hair. Aren't you excited? I am. Let's go back over to here. Make sure we have the edit on, because I crashed. And orthographic view. Cool. And we just want to do the rest of the hair, I guess. Hey, it's Daniel from the future. Doing a voiceover while this quick time-lapse plays. Just wanted to say, I hope that this video so far has maybe shined light on the, it's not as stressful to make hair, or make hair textures, sorry, in Xgen. I think a lot of people are scared to use it. That's why a lot of people go to like the alternative apps for making hair, which is completely understandable. I still think there's a lot of pros to using apps outside of Xgen for making hair. But for anyone that really wants to use Xgen, hopefully this shows that it's not as, stressful as it might have seemed. The only real downside, I think, to, using Xgen is just that Maya crashes a lot. I think that's just a thing that Maya is just amazing at for some reason. So, yeah, I think especially with Xgen, just prepare for it to crash a lot and just do saves as much as possible and you'll be fine. Either way, back to the video. So now we're going to be moving on to the more wispier kind of hair textures, the level 3s. We've done the level 1s and 2s here. We're going to be moving on to level 3s now. It's pretty much the exact same kind of process as I've done with level 1 and level 2. So just sit back and watch, I guess. Alrighty, so we finished nearly all of the hair textures. All that's left are these ones at the bottom. The reason we make these small ones, these come in handy for flyaways or small little details in the hair that you wouldn't really be able to get with these thick, big hair textures at the top. And you'll see later on when I make a video about how to place these hair textures, you'll see how they'll come in handy. So we'll start placing now. Also, another thing, when you're making something like eyebrows or beards, especially when you can only make, let's say you're working on a project and you don't want to have to make multiple hair textures, I've made this hair texture template possible for more than just hair, but also for beards or for eyebrows or for even eyelashes. So it all come in handy. So yeah, I'll get these done and we will move on to rendering them out. Whoa! Oh my god. We did it! Woohoo! Well, that's all the hair texture splines done. Whoa! So, let's get to baking. So, let's grab all our hair splines and we're going to set it to the physical shader. Cool, cool. If we open up Arnold, we have a little look here. We do a quick little... Oh, turn on the light, remember. And also we need to turn on the camera itself so it comes up for us to render. Which I hope is that. Yeah, there we go. That looks pretty good, right? I'm pretty proud of that, you know? This looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. So first of all, what we want to do is just bake out the color, which we can do straight away from just having the standard material on the hair shader. So we can go to File... Save file, save image. I'm going to keep it as an EXR, and we're going to put it. All right, so I'm going to put here. I'm going to put hair color. Sure. Nice. And that should now render. And we can go check that really quickly. Nice. All baked out. Pretty quick. Does it very quickly for you. Nice. That's a pretty nice color. Texture. I'm really happy with that. Very easy way to get the AO. Let's get all the hair textures. And we're going to go right click. New material. We're going to go down to shader. And we're going to pick up the AI ambient occlusion. So by doing that, we now have, obviously it's going to look grey in here, but when we go to Arnold, open Arnold view, then do a bake, you will now see we'll have a lovely AO to work with, which is super nice. Cool. So let's give that a render out. All right, let's get out the alpha, which is super important to have for especially hair. So we're going to go down to assign new material. And honestly, there's a few ways you can do it, but I found a really easy shader you can use just to get your alpha immediately. So AI utility, there you go. Now you just have a pretty crisp, nice opacity to use. Alrighty, so the next map we're going to make is the directional map. So let's get onto that. So what we're going to do is grab all the hair again, go down to assign new material, and we're going to pick out shader, and then again pick up AI utility. So this time we're going to go to flat for shade mode, and then color mode. We're going to pick something called V Surface Derivative. Cool. So now, if I give that a bake, you will get this map, which is very nice and funky. I love the colors on this. So if you go to File, File Save. Alrighty, so last thing we're going to do is the normal map. I will say one thing about the normal map. I feel like, at least in my experience, I haven't had much use for the normal map, but I know that, you might be working on a project where, or an engine where it might look better with it. So I'll show you how to do it really quickly. So what you need to do is go to your actual template, and we are going to set up a few things. So right click on it, and I want you to go to Assign New Material, go over to Shader, go over to AI Utility, and what we're going to do is set this in the shade mode to flat, color mode to normal. Okay, so now that we've done that, we want to apply that to the hair as well. So that will have the exact same material, so we can pick that there, AI Utility 4. So both now that has the same. So a small thing about normals that I wanted to talk about is the normal map. Unfortunately, when you do go ahead and render it out, the results a lot of the time are going to look a bit like this. Very subtle, a bit too subtle, to the point where you can't really do much with it. If you really, desperately want to use your normal map, a good technique I would consider is that obviously throughout this we've been trying to make sure that they're as straight as possible, so from an orthographic view it's perfect. But now it's time to maybe go into, if we go back to Xgen, go in and give it a bit of wave from a side angle. So if we were to go from here, actually we'll just stay in here, in perspective view. Pretty much what you need to do is make it wobble a bit. So I'll show you. So if I was to go, if we're going sideways here, we'll go outwards and inwards like that. See that? So now it's got a bit more of a curve to it. This is if you really want to make like wavy hair, for example. Most of the time, it's fine though. Again, I'll go here. I'll do the same to this one. It's really up to you if you want to do this. But I'll show you anyway, just so you can see. And then I'll go back to sorting things out. But there you go. See how now those are super nice and curved? I'll do it on this last one, just so you get the point. And then I'll show you baked. And then I can move on, because this is long. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so now you can see there's a lot more bumpy. So let's see what happens when we render them out. Let's hide all this stuff. Bring back the plane. Let's see how it looks. Okay, and a bake. Now, yeah, you can see it's a lot more abrupt, right? Maybe a bit too much, but you get the point. If you want to do normals, that's how you're going to get it, following the way that I've done it so far. Yeah, there you go. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to open up Photoshop or a 2D software of your choice. It doesn't have to be Photoshop, just anything that can, edit images. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab all of the things. So we're pretty much just going to drag in all of the textures we've made so far. Very nice. So this opacity thing is going to come in handy a lot for what we're going to do now. So what we're going to do is hide everything. What we're going to do is just grab the opacity. So now that's copied. I've actually Control-C'd that. I've grabbed the opacity. We can hide that now. Let's go over to this. We are going to make a mask. Really easy way of doing that is just clicking down here. And if you hold down Alt, left click on the mask, you're now in the mask setting. If we just Control V, that is now the mask of the lovely color. Does that make sense? Cool. What we can do now is we can go over to the background and we're going to set this to like a nice kind of browny color. Pretty much what I'm trying to do here is just match the kind of feel, kind of color of, I might even color pick. There we go. But we want it darker than the actual base color. There we go. There's a few things I'm not liking about this yet. And I think it's something that we can do in the actual textures using just a bit of Photoshop. So what we're going to do is let's group this. So we just have this. This is the color. go here. I'm going to make a new layer. And what I'm going to do is I just want to add a few kind of like highlights in the color. And it's very easy to do. It's not going to take fucking 2,000 years to do. It's like the quickest thing. We're just going to go here and we're going to set like a kind of light orangey kind of color. Don't worry about how it looks at the moment. We can adjust it. But I'm gonna do it like this. Also, I'm not using a Wacom because I just don't have the energy to plug it in right now. Go over to the filter that you can set it to, and set it to, I believe it is lighten. Let's see if it's lighten. No, lighten. Let's do overlay. Cool. You will notice it's a bit too orangey. So we're going to Control and U. And we're going to set the saturation down a bit. Lighten just a bit up. Lightness. There we go. And now what we can do is just get this kind of middle shine in the middle. Does that make sense? Cool. That's your color. That's your color map right there. All done. That is it. There's a few things you can do that I feel like, you know, it's one of those things where you can experiment, you know, see what works, see what doesn't, add stuff in, add some highlights. If you don't like the highlights, you can take them out, but I recommend them. Just gives it a bit of like color displacement that I think you kind of need after baking them out. There you go. Direction. It's direction. So what I'd do is again, let's make a mask. So we can click on that. Click inside. Copy and paste. That is our mask. Go back. Cool. Let's group that. Flow map. This is our flow map. And we can go in here. Just drop down. Let's grab the purple around there. There we go. And you have your flow map. Very cool. Let's make a roughness. And there's a really cool way that you can make a roughness, actually. So you have your AO, right? There's a nice little trick I have. All right, so we want to make a roughness. What we need to do is pretty much just make a fill layer, go down to black, and we're going to set the opacity up. And we just want the ends to be gradiented out like this. Okay? You got to trust me on this, all right? This is using the AO as the base. You trusting me? Cool. Okay, and then go back to your hair, _AO, Control L. We're just going to mess with the input levels a bit, so things are a bit darker, some bits are a bit more lighter. Okay, and that is your roughness. That's all you need your roughness to be, pretty much. You know, you can get super snazzy with it, but that is a more than fine roughness. Okay, so now that we've done that, we can save out all the stuff. And we've got all our maps. We're ready. How cool is that? Isn't that exciting? Oh, yeah, baby. We're done within Maya and Xgen. This is how it looks in Marmoset Toolbag 4. You can see the flow is working pretty nicely. Really happy with that. The roughness working nice. Opacity, ambient occlusion looking all nice. Yeah, overall, super happy with it. But yeah, that is how you make textures for hair using Maya and Xgen and a little bit of Photoshop. Yeah, so now moving on to the next software. Oh. Alrighty, we're out of Maya, thank fuck, and we're in Fibershop. I'm really excited to talk about Fibershop. One of the big things I do want to say straight away before anything is that this is the most kind of user-friendly, beginner-friendly software I've used in a while. especially with 3D. The problem I have with Maya, I do love Maya, but a big problem I have with it is that it's not beginner friendly at all. And especially with Xgen, I found myself when I was first starting off having to watch so many different videos and get so much advice just to get the hang of it. But with something like Fibershop, I didn't have to look at a tutorial or a video or literally anything. It just kind of clicked. And that might be because I've already got a bit of, knowledge beforehand with other software. But even then, I could completely see someone with no understanding of how to do hair textures picking this up and just getting it straight away, which is amazing. So big up Fibershop. You guys are awesome. So another really great thing is all the stuff that you need to set up that, usually in Maya would take a few minutes to do. It's all done for you, pretty much. All you have to do is just kind of drag in stuff. So with the reference image, we can just go to browse here and grab it in, and it's already in straight away. If we turn off overlay, now the hair will be on top. And what we want to do, which I think is the really magical part, is the draw function. So if we click on the hand draw mode and go over to draw, oh, get ready for this. Ooh. I'm going to use my Wacom here. We can draw on hair. Oh, God. It just works. It's really quite annoying, actually, how good it works. So you can see here, I'm able to mess with the modifiers as well. So one thing I want to do is change the clumping to be a bit less aggressive. So if you just go there, yeah, a bit less aggressive. And what we can do is just draw in the hair textures, which is just insane that we can do that. And it's saved us probably a lot of time. And I'm even going to confidently say that out of all the, alternative, hair texture software that you can get, ranging in price, I think this might be the best one. I really, 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 really like it. So see here, I can just easily paint in, brush in my lovely hair. I'll show you one thing afterwards, but you can see very easily we have all the hair we want. One really nice thing is you have this thing called the hide and unhide. So you can select, I want to grab this one here. I don't like this brush stroke I've done. Click on delete all hidden curves. That will delete it completely. But there you go. You've already got, in only a few seconds, you've got your first hair stroke done, which is, it's really, really good. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set up the density a bit because I feel like it needs to be a bit larger. There we go. And maybe we want to maybe add just a few more so there's no more holes in it. But see? How cool is that? We've got our first texture done just like that. Cool. What's nice as well is that you have all the textures just ready, done. Oh, so good. Just all there for you to render out at the end, which is just great. Cool. So I'm just going to keep going through and treat this as a little time lapse for you to just watch me put together this hair. Cool. All right, let's go. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a new block, which I don't know what it's called block, but it's a new block. And what we're going to do is we're going to change a few things here, and this is going to be like our secondary kind of shapes within here. So we're going to set the kind of density like this. Just make it a bit more wispy, hand draw mode. And then we can go in start adding in these more kind of thinner bits. And we might want to actually change the clumps to not be as aggressive, because I feel like they're a bit too much right now. What's nice as well is we can actually be really specific with it. We can add really specific curls. So let's make a new block. Set the width down and the depth down and the width density down, so it's just one little thing. Maybe we want to make the density a bit. Yeah, sure. Just like that, sure. Yeah, whatever you say. Put it all down, and if I do hand drawn mode, draw, you're gonna love this. We can add individual curves, which is just so cool. Curly flyaways, which is super useful for making more kind of realistic and unique hair textures. Not gonna lie, I think this is amazing. It's just so easy to use. I feel like I'm nerding out about how much I like this, but it just works, you know. There definitely are some pros and cons to using this. I think there definitely is certain things about Xgen that I do prefer, but overall, if, you know, I was on a budget, and also I didn't have much time to, you know, spend ages within Xgen, I think this is the best way. I think it's the best way of doing it. I really do. So do give it a good old try. That's what I'll say. And again, I'm not producing the end all be all best hair textures right now within it. If anything, they look kind of rubbish, but they look okay. Just okay enough. You can see we're having the same issues we had with Maya, where the splines have that really hard edge. And what I noticed is if you go over to thickness curve, if you click on the block, you can go in and adjust it the same way you can do in Maya. See that? Genius. See how it tapers off nicely. Wonderful. Wonderful. Great. Cool. Hide the reference image now, because I feel like we can work with what we have here. So I'm going to hide that. Cool. Background color, and let's just set that to something a bit more abrupt. There we go. New block, and then we want this. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Let's add some flyaways. All our textures done. It boggles my mind. It's just done. No, don't do it. Oh, I literally thought it was crashing. Just like that, all done. Let's give this a cheeky bake so you can see how it all looks. You know, you have all your textures all there, just like that. One last thing that I found really interesting within the software as well is there is the option of some modifiers, which yes, you can do in Xgen as well. I didn't really dip into that much in Xgen, but I'll show it off in Fibershop. With add modifiers, you can have stuff like curls, which is super cool, where you'll add this kind of displacement, which is super cool. super, super fun. Things will be a bit more wavy. We can also add something like a noise, which I think in general is quite nice to add. So you can really make these feel a bit more scruffy. Alrighty, so a bit of a comparison time. On the left, we have Maya, and on the right, we have Fibershop. I will say, and I do want to stress this, I did brush quite a lot on the Fibershop one. I just kind of wanted to get it out quickly, and also I haven't used it enough. I'm still learning comparatively to with Maya and Xgen. I've used that a lot more. So cut me some slack, okay? But I will say this only took about 10-15 minutes to do comparatively to Maya, which took about an hour and a half to do. So you know, take that information however you want to take that information. I think that it's crazy that this one that took about 1/10 of the time is nearly to the exact same quality as the one that took a lot longer and a lot more prep. So big up Fibershop still. I think it's great. But yeah, look at these and compare for yourself which you think is better or worse or the same. Either way, yeah. Hello, all of you fucking stinky poor people that can't afford 3D software that's thousands of dollars. This third option is the cheapest one and potentially free for some people. So we are going to be using Photoshop, which ironically is quite expensive, but it's a great example of a 2D software, and there's so many alternatives that are pretty much the same. And also, there's no like any specific, buttons or technical bits to this that aren't transferable to pretty much any other, generic alternative that's free online. So you can follow along using, don't use paint.net, but you get the point. So I'm going to go and drag my template in. Also, I've set the background to a nice kind of dark grey, and you'll see why in a second. So I'm going to set the opacity down on this layer so it's nice and subtle. Cool. So now, get ready for the magic. Also, I'm really sorry for calling you poor. I didn't mean that. So use yourself a little like soft round pressure opacity and flow brush or anything equivalent. It's whatever makes you happy. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go in and kind of just draw out what we did before, right? But just don't worry. Also, you're probably sitting there going, but the strands look really big. Don't worry, you'll see. So we're just going to build these up like this. Okay, you following so far? Okay, cool. Very good. Very, very nice. Yep. And then I'm going to go and do a slightly lighter grey. So now it's above it. I'm going to make the brush a bit smaller. I'm pretty much just going to do the same dragging motion I did before. Sorry. Also, I'm using a Wacom. So maybe it's not the cheapest option because you'll need to have a Wacom for this. I think you probably could technically do it with a mouse, but have fun trying to do that. So see, I'm like leaving some gaps between the darker grey and the slightly lighter grey. Okay, now I'm going to go slightly higher. Now I can make the brush even smaller and see how I'm trying to have it slightly above all these other colours. And I'm just going to pepper these in. Okay, you following me so far? Alright. You're probably going, oh, I get it. Drawing on these ends, they're coming in. They're coming in. Draw a few more. Okay. Then I'm going to go even higher. I'm going to make the brush even smaller this time. Even smaller brush. See? Nice and small. And what I'm doing, pretty much just peppering those smaller hairs on top. So now you can start to see you have a nice dark grey, mid grey, light grey, and then we're going to add a nice white. And then we'll be good to go. let's just keep going through with this. Okay. Honestly, already that looks pretty cool. I'm now going to go slightly smaller, and I'm just going to make sure the ends are nice and straight. At the moment, it's kind of wonky. It's going that way. Look at that. We've got a fucking hair texture. How easy is that? No, you don't need some like crazy weird, I don't know, brush or something. You got hair. It's that fucking simple. it's that, and obviously it's not as technically fucking awesome, but you've got hair. You've actually got a hair set here. Wow. Wow. Woohoo! Awesome. All right. Let's do the other ones. Oh my god, we're done. Oh, that took too fucking long. But yes, we have the hairs drawn out. This took about an hour to do. Maybe slightly less, but around that time. So let's actually get to work on, you know, putting together all the textures that we need using just this. This is all we need, pretty much. So I'm just going to call this base. We have that there. I'm going to hide it. Let's quickly duplicate it. So, off the bat, you might realize that we already have a pretty nice AO. Off the bat, like that. That can be used easily as an AO. So I'm just going to give it like a nice, kind of slightly darker background. And I shall group those together and call that the AO. Okay? Already? Easy. You got an AO, just like that. Cool. Now let's grab the base again, put it on top, hide this. Let's make the color. So what we're going to do is we have the fill layer underneath. We're going to make a new fill layer of a kind of like brownish. What we're going to do, just get that. Do a multiply. There we go. Nice. And already things are starting to come together, which is very nice. I think the actual thing, we're going to do Control real quickly, and I'm just going to bring up the kind of a bit like that, using the levels. I feel like in general, these need to be a bit higher. So I'm going to grab this and this, then do a Control L. I'm just going to bring this up so a bit higher. Like that, you see? Cool. A bit brighter. Cool. Now that we've done that, we can obviously add some slight kind of dark bits that you would have got using the materials in either Fibershop or Xgen. And it's really easy. All you have to do is just go yoink across, yoink that one, and then we'll do a yoink across that one. And then just make sure that that's not affected. Cool. And then you can just kind of bring that down a bit. A bit more subtle. We didn't do it on this one, did we? There you go. It just gives a nice darker tone at the root of the hair, which is really nice. Cool. Looks snazzy already. Okay. Let's add some highlights, and then we're nearly done. Like, we're pretty much done, guys. I know, it's amazing. Overlay. Make sure it's nice and bright. Cool. Put the opacity up a bit. Nice. So we've got just white. Set to overlay. What we're doing is just bring in a bit of highlight to the middle area of the hair like that. Giving it kind of this like simulated shine, you know. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. We're getting there. Getting close. Are you excited? Cool. I think that's more than fine. You know, you can go in here and maybe be more specific where you want the shine to be. Yeah, I think that's more than fine. That looks fine. Okay. So now you've got your color. Just like that. All done for you, buddy. BAO your color. There's certainly things that I would add, I think. You know, it's pretty much just the sky's the limit, especially when you're drawing it out. You can add things as you go. But that's the color done. That's the AO done. And now let's do the opacity. So we're going to grab the base again, put it on the top, hide that, and let's see how we look when we do this. So group, opacity, opacity. And what we're going to do is click on the base, put a fill layer first underneath that's black. Cool. And we're going to go to the base, Control L, so we now get the levels up. And we're just going to bring it as far up as we can. We're also going to strip back the blacks a bit more like that. Cool. Yeah, I think that's... Yeah, that's good. That's good. Cool. So you have something that looks a bit like this. You know, it's not perfect. Again, you can really refine it. Like, I think I could sit here and make sure this is not as mushy, but it gets the point across. But there we go. So after that, I think like we've got pretty much all we need. Oh, a roughness. Easy. Let's use our lovely base again. Go here. Roughness. Roughness. Grab that. We're going to do there. Put a fill layer underneath. Around there. Darker being less shiny. White being a lot more shinier. And remember what we did with the Maya one? I'm just going to go in. Pretty much pepper in the roots of all the hair being a lot darker like that. Okay. Obviously, again, you could sit here and, you know, really make all of these look as good as you want. You know, the sky's the limit with this, which is really good. Sometimes, and this is what I mean, I feel like even though, you know, it's not the best option, I do prefer it sometimes. You know, there is use cases for it, which I think are really good. Maybe what we can do as well, let's make the bottom just slightly darker. So it's like all the shine is coming from the middle, which is really nice. Okay. Oh my god, we're nearly done. This is it. Cool. Guys, you've made your hair. One thing you can do if you wanted to try, if you're feeling it, there is a way that you can render out your thing to be a normal map. So I haven't tried this, but let's give it a go really quickly and see if we get good results. Yep. Cool. Very nice. Sure. That's sure. Do you know what? Sure. Let's try one thing. I think it's a bit too aggressive, the normals. So I'm going to quickly... What I'm going to do, set this just to be a bit more subtle, like this. Cool. Ah, finally, we're finished. No more hair texturing. Thank God. I'm very excited to talk about all three of these because, you know, we started in Maya, a super industry standard software. Very expensive, though, and not very beginner friendly. Then we're moving over to Fibershop, which is very user and friendly and very beginner friendly and quite cheap. And then the third option is if you pretty much have no money. Obviously, I did use Photoshop, which is quite expensive, but there are so many alternative softwares that are pretty much the exact same thing. So, you know, all the things I taught with the Photoshop segment are easily transferable to many other free alternatives. So, this is the Maya one, just to get into comparing. I really like the Maya one. I probably would say it is my favorite one, to be completely honest. I think it still holds, it's still at the top comparatively to the other ones. But the big con of it is that it took a very long time to do. Also, just setup takes a while. Obviously, if you put together an awesome Maya template scene, you'd be fine. You'd be ready straight away. One other big con that I've noticed is that Maya crashes so much, man. It crashes so. I love Maya. It's all I use pretty much for making modeling, next to ZBrush. But it's just so it's unstable. And with something like Xgen, I notice myself crashing at least 4 or 5 times throughout, which is very fucking infuriating. So I had to save every like 3 seconds just to make sure nothing gets lost. But in the end, I'm very happy with how it looks. I think overall it looks really, really good. You know, I think what's really nice about the tools within Xgen is that you're getting these really nice natural shapes that feel combed in. I think that's something that doesn't really transfer as easily over to the other software. So everything feels really flowy, like hair, which is perfect for making hair. So, you know, I would still, at least at the moment, recommend giving Xgen a go because the quality bar that it hits is amazing. It's really, really good. And I can understand why it's industry standard. Then we're moving on to good old Fibershop. I'm really happy with this. I think what's nice is that the normal map, obviously I feel like you probably could get a nice normal map with Xgen if you spend a bit more time on it. But I would say the Fibershop normal map is really, really nice. It gives it a nice kind of curve to it, which will be really nice for giving a bit more volume to your hair. The other textures that you can render out, there's unlimited amount of textures that you can pretty much render out, directional, ID maps, all that kind of stuff, which again, you can do with Xgen and Maya, but with this, it's so streamlined and it's just a click of a button, which is amazing. I'm really happy with it. I would say, you know, there's a level of a rushed job, you know, that the curves aren't as perfect as I wanted them to be, but the big reason, you know, I wanted to do this video was just to show that you can use software that's a lot more cheaper and get very much the same close results to if you were using industry standard. And I think this perfectly shows it. There's definitely some errors with it, but you can see straight away that it does work. You know, you're still getting that same kind of rough quality bar that I hit with Xgen. So yeah, really, really happy with this. And overall, I think like, you know, with making hair, it's already so stressful to do already. And I feel like, you know, if I wanted kind of just a relaxing weekend making hair textures, I would go towards Fibershop 100% because it's very user-friendly. So I love you, Fibershop. Good job. Then, moving on to the third option, you know, with Photoshop and 2D software. There's a few hacky bits. Like obviously I use the weird normals that you can do. In Photoshop, you can convert to normals, which looks a bit scraggly, but still, like, you don't have to use those normals. It looks good. Like, this is fine. And that's the thing. I think, you know, to give a comparison, this is what you should be going for with Maya and Xgen. This is a really good, you know, alternative. Photoshop is fine. It's a fine alternative. And what I mean by that is that, you know, if you're just trying to get, you know, you're kind of scared to get your foot in the door with learning how to do hair or hair textures, and also you just don't have, you know, the money to even buy Fibershop. There's nothing wrong with using 2D software to make hair. And I'm happy that I can show in this video how you can make pretty exceptional hair off the bat, you know, because I feel like, you know, if you haven't done it before, you're probably terrified out of your mind how to even start. So hopefully with this video, maybe you feel like it's a bit more achievable. Alrighty, so that is the end of the video. I'm so happy it's over. I don't want to look at hair for a bit. The Maya one on the left, the middle one is the Fibershop one, and the third one is the Photoshop one. What I've done is pretty much just put together a very quick clump of hair cards with the textures, just to see how they look when put together. Yeah, I'm super happy with them. There's definitely things I dislike and like about all of them, you know. One thing I will say about the Maya one, it's definitely my favorite, the Maya one, but one problem is the splines feel very thick, and that can be easily fixed by just going into Maya and changing the spline width and chunkiness to something a bit more thinner, and then turning up the density. Easy fix. The Fibershop one, I do like the Fibershop one. The one kind of negative I have is that, you know, I haven't used it as much, so, and also I feel like I kind of rushed certain things on it. So at the end of the day, I think you probably could get to the exact same level as the Xgen one easily, or even better. You know, it just comes down to how much you used it and how much you're used to Fibershop. So if you want to go for Fibershop, I would recommend it. And then Photoshop, I really liked using Photoshop actually for making the hair textures. One thing I think was really nice about the textures made in Photoshop, they feel very fluffy, which is so good for hair. I do actually, in some respect, prefer the look of the Photoshop one in some ways, which is really, really nice and eye-opening, you know, because it's probably the cheapest option out of the three. So yeah, I hope that seeing them all lined up has given you some perspective on which one you want to choose, or which one you want to prefer to use. And yeah, thank you so much for watching the video. I've had a fucking blast making this. I love hair, but I'm very happy I don't have to look at hair for a minute. I'm gonna go model. I will say this, the next video that will be coming up it'll probably take a while, because, you know, this has taken a while. It's taken a week or so to edit, film, put together. Next one, I'm gonna have to make, you know, the full head of hair. So it's gonna take a while, and I want to edit it, and I want these videos to be as high production as possible for you guys to enjoy. But either way, thank you so much for watching, and I really hope this has been informative and educational. And, you know, if one thing I will ask from you, since you've watched me do something for you for an hour and whatnot, could you please type in the comments which one is your favorite? Like, out of these three, which one do you prefer the most? I'm very excited to see what you guys think. So yes, thank you very much, and have a lovely day, and I hope this has made you realize that hair is actually quite fun. All right? Okay. Have a nice day. Bye!